What's up? Podcast World, Chad Belding back at you. Another episode of This Life Ain't For Everybody. Thank you so much for helping us grow, getting this message and content out there. Please continue to support the partners and sponsors that support all of our properties here. We're excited about the growth of the podcast. Today's episode of the This Life Ain't For Everybody podcast is brought to you again by our friends, Lynchburg, Tennessee, Jack Daniels, America. Enjoy it responsibly. I don't know how many memories have been made over Jack Daniels. I don't know how many breakups have been fixed over Jack Daniels. I just know that it's there when you need it in a pinch, and it's always been there for me personally. Don't abuse it. Use it responsibly. The taste of the Sour Mash Tennessee whiskey out of Lynchburg, Tennessee is my absolute favorite, and we're so humbled to be part of the Jack Daniels family. They have been there for us for years, and my guest is holding up a bottle it is a bottle of single barrel. Good night. And it has his band's name engraved in it. I don't want to give away those three letters yet. My guest today is a real American bona fide badass, not just songwriter, not just lead singer, but a rock star. He is Jeremy Popoff, the founder of several bands, but Lit, L-I-T, is engraved on that Jack Daniels single barrel bottle. Welcome, my brother, Jeremy Popoff.
Thank you, man. It's good to see you.
So I take it you're a Jack Daniels fan.
I am. I kind of used up all my drink tickets for Jack Daniels a few years ago. So I kind of switched over to Tito's vodka for the last few years, but I go back and forth, man. Since we've been on lockdown, we've been making this some Jack Daniels sangria that's just delicious.
Oh, you're gonna have to text me that recipe.
I'll text it to you, man. It's good, and it's you feel a lot better about yourself when it's like 2 PM and you're drinking sangria. It just seems more allowed than hitting the bottle.
Without getting too much into your lifestyle, as far as the rock part of it, what is it about this quarantine, Jeremy Popoff, that has given Americans, because I know you're a worker, I know you're an entrepreneur, I know your mindset is driven, you're focused, you got the end goal in mind, you have since you started your music career, and I don't even know you that well. I just know from what I've heard from guys like Jamie Johnson, how awesome of a person, how sweet of a man you are, and talking with you, I can just tell how driven you are and how successful and professional you are. What is it about this damn quarantine and this COVID-19 coronavirus that has given Americans like myself and you, your wife, your friends, the mindset that it's okay to have a Jack Daniels at 2:00 in the afternoon? Isn't it weird how it just feels like we're supposed to during this?
I mean, in a way, if you feel like you're on vacation and you feel like it's every day is Sunday, and it just feels like, why the hell not? I mean, I try not to start too early. I still try to stay on a somewhat of a reasonable schedule, but yeah, man, it just feels I definitely think that Jack Daniels and Tito's vodka is an essential item.
It is. It's just crazy to me how I've heard it. If I've heard it once, I've heard it 100 times right now during the last 5 weeks, that it's going on everywhere. A guy that I cook with a bunch of our Traeger content, he's like, is this right? This feels right. Are people going to judge me? Because, and I'm like, no, man. And my ex-wife last night was telling me, you're not alone. I'm telling you right now, people are doing this nonstop. It just is what's going on right now. It's a weird time in our country.
Well, I was telling somebody the other day, I think I saw somebody post about it, and I've been using it as my philosophy on this. Is sort of like airport rules, this whole quarantine thing. So when you go to the airport, it's like the bar opens at 6:00. You got an hour till your early morning flight. You get a Bloody Mary at the bar. It's like, hey man, I'm at the airport.
That is so true, that it's different rules in the airport, ain't it? That's crazy. That's a good way to think about it. I haven't seen that, but man, I can't imagine, growing up, I wanted to do two things in life. I wanted to be a professional center fielder for a Major League Baseball team. Got to college, was told I wasn't good enough. And I wanted to be a drummer in a rock band. And I don't know if it was going to be a cover band or a Friday night band at the local bar. I didn't know if it was going to be Lit or Guns N' Roses. But I took some drum lessons from a guy named the Boogeyman, and he's a legit drummer and a great instructor. And I think I got it. I think I can do it, right? My mindset, Jeremy, is like, I can keep a beat. I got the idea of the bass drum and the foot and keeping it going. And it's very difficult. Bill Burr, the comedian, I don't know if you've met Bill. I'm sure you have through runnings around, but he loves drumming. A lot of people that have picked up drumming love it. They love the ability to, it's almost like a workout for them, the mindset of it. But I never made it. I never got to do it. And I often look at guys like you, man, what a cool lifestyle to be able to tell a story in 3 to 4 minutes in each of your songs, and then entertain a crowd, and then the energy that has to, that you have to feel up there, that crowd is bringing into you and that you're releasing back into them. And I just think the rock star mentality is cool. Is it something that you knew was happening when it started, or give me an idea of what was going on in the late 80s, the 90s, the mid 90s, when you really started to get into your career as a rock lead singer?
Well, my brother, people confuse us all the time. My brother AJ is the lead singer and I'm the lead guitar player. And the two of us were the only 2 kids in our family. And our dad was a radio DJ growing up. So 2 things. One, his radio shift, he worked in LA. We were from Orange County, and he was on the radio from like 3 p.m. till 8 o'clock at night. Which basically meant we were like the typical latchkey kids in the 80s. You know, we'd come home from school and there'd be no one at home, no parents at home. Our parents were separated. Our dad was at work. So we were raised by werewolves and wild animals. And all we wanted to do was ride our bikes and go to play video games at the arcade and just, get in trouble with our rock and roll friends, and that kind of forced us. One, it brought my brother and I a lot closer together because we sort of took care of each other. But, we were born and raised around music and raised on the radio and all that. And one day I was at the arcade playing some track and field, and my bike was leaning against the window next to me, and I was, playing, and then I look, checking my bike, and then playing, and I look, my bike is gone. And so, I had a Diamondback, BMX bike, and that was like my livelihood, is what I did every single day. And it was gone. And my parents were like, "Oh, sorry, man, you're shit out of luck." And so I had this, piece of shit electric guitar that was like a friend of someone's friend of whatever, and it barely played, it barely held a tune, but it was electric, and that's all I gave a shit about. So my friends were riding their bikes every day, and the only thing I had to do by myself in my room was just try and figure out how to play this thing. And so my dad was in top 40 radio, so we grew up around everything from, top 40 back then meant the top 40 most popular songs in America, right? So, in 1984 or 83, you would hear Kenny Rogers, and then you would hear Boston, and then you would hear, the Cars and Tom Petty. And so our background musically was super all over the place. And we didn't know the difference between country music and pop music or rock music. We just thought we liked good songs, but then we started getting really into heavy metal, and I just wanted to do that. I just wanted to figure out how to play this thing and figure out how to do that. And so for the next, 20 years, that's all really, we started our band in the late 80s. We got to kind of experience that Sunset Strip in the 80s thing, because we were all in high school, and that was the only places that had clubs that would allow all ages kids in. So we'd rent party buses and drag all our high school friends up to watch us suck, at the Whiskey. And that's just what we did, man. And, I started writing songs mainly because I couldn't play an entire Iron Maiden song from front to back, or I couldn't play an Ozzy song from front to back. I couldn't even fuck with the Randy Rhoads solo, So I was like, I know, I'll write my own songs. That way I'll be able to play it from front to back, and I'll look a lot cooler than just, playing the intro riff to Crazy Train and stopping, So that's
I have some notes here, and I keep looking at them because I'm like, the very first thing that I have is SoCal because I know y'all are from Orange County, but the next thing I have written down is Sunset. And I was really hoping you went there because I often wonder again, Jeremy Popoff, of being able to, every time I go down there, first of all, I never go down to that part of the country, whether I go to Irvine or whether I'm visiting Oakley or I'm seeing a game in Anaheim or Dodger Stadium or doing something in LA, hitting Huntington or watching the US Open Surf Championships or what. I love it down there. But I never go down there without going to Sunset and walking into the Rainbow or walking into the Whiskey, walking in and looking at the board of pictures, looking across the street and knowing that freaking, Motorhead, Lenny was right there and Slash has sat here and Jeremy Popoff's been in here and all the history, right? Growing up there, you're saying that in the 80s, you got to experience this firsthand. You would drive up to Sunset, which is kind of close to the Hollywood Hills, is it not?
Yeah, it's right at the base of it.
Right at the base. So you're there and you're seeing this take place. So I guess I'm kind of referring to the newest movie of the Sunset Strip. Have you seen Dirt? I'm sure you have. Have you watched the Dirt movie on Motley Crue? Okay. Mm-hmm. Was it like that? And how crazy was it to know that all of this music that was transcending rock and roll from the Motley Crues and then to the Appetite for Destruction of GNR was kind of born right there when Axl and Izzy and those guys got together. Lit's being born right there. Motorhead's right there. Several bands are in that area that are playing at these iconic venues. And you're sitting here telling me in 2020 that 30 years ago, you were experiencing this as a high school kid and you got to see it firsthand?
Yeah, man, so it was no one called. We never called each other and said, "Hey, what are you doing Friday night?" or "What are you doing Saturday night?" We went to the Sunset Strip every Friday and every Saturday night from Anaheim to Hollywood. And we hopped in my 1978 shit brown Toyota Celica. And we'd pile like 6 of us in there. And, we knew a liquor store that would sell us Jack and we'd have the little half pints in our leather jacket inside pockets. And we all had ROP class in high school. I don't know if it was like a trade school program they had in high school. And we took print shop so that we could print our band flyers for free. And we would go there with a case of flyers and we would park up in the Hollywood Hills. So because we couldn't afford to pay to park, and then we'd walk down to the Strip with each one of us with probably 1,000 flyers. And from about 10 o'clock p.m. till 2 a.m., we would just walk up and down the Strip and just talk to people and promote our band and hand out flyers and stickers and cassette tapes and stuff. And, this is before there was no social media, obviously. So that was just hand-to-hand combat, guerrilla marketing 101. But yeah, we were 16 years old, 17 years old. And there were more people on the sidewalk in those days than there were in the clubs. There was, between Gazzari's and Gil Turner's to the Whiskey, that little stretch right there was probably 4,000 or 5,000 people on that side of the street every Friday and Saturday night. Just God. 6 people wide, asshole to elbow. And it was awesome. And I never saw a fight. And it was just debauchery and fun. And it was our college, really. This is where we learned like how to meet people, how to promote, we made a lot of great friends then, you got to give me at least one specific Popoff of like what memory. Give me something that would stand out to the general guy that's just a casual, Sunset. I don't know everything about it, but I love the idea of it and the culture of it and the rock band. Did you see somebody stumble into a bar that you're like in Nashville today? You'll be at a bar in Nashville and it's nothing to see Bobby Ritchie get up or Jamie might get up or you would be there and get up at Losers or Toby Keith stands up, right? You see that quite a bit. What did you see on Sunset? There was a lot less of that sort of jamming going on back then. There wasn't like in Nashville here. It's cool because it's cover bands and it's easy to jump up and play a song or two with somebody. Back then it was very much you had to pay to get into the club. To play at the club, you had to sell a certain amount of tickets to get a slot on a good night, and like I said, there were more people out on the sidewalk because that's where the party was. So you would go to the Strip every weekend and maybe only dip into one of the clubs like once a month, because drinks were expensive and it was $10 to get in. And it was like, well, my friends are out here anyway. So it's kind of a unique situation. But yeah, we saw the Guns N' Roses guys out on the Strip. We saw the Warrant guys were staples, the Poison guy. I mean, all that kind of mid to late 80s. It was, and we were kids. We were like, whoa, dude, look, it's Izzy Stradlin. I remember I hung out with Izzy Stradlin one night right outside of the Whiskey, just talking about guitars, for 15, 20 minutes. And it was just like, holy shit, but it was pretty dope. Anything kind of went. It was sort of an innocent time. It was sort of it was right before like AIDS and stuff, so, and shit was going on in the parking lots, and it was just crazy. My brother was 15, got his first blowjob behind the Whiskey at like, from some like hot 22-year-old like groupie chick. It was fucking awesome. But it was a crazy time, and it was definitely like to be able to have been a fly on the wall and been there and seen that, and to be a part of that at such an early age was pretty awesome.
Yeah, I think that, influence is everything in a man's life, a woman's life. And I that's where I was transitioning into next is, I always get it out of the way of because people know my fascination with GNR and how it started and why I started going to Sunset when I was playing college baseball at UNLV in Las Vegas. We would travel down there and try to find Axl. And this was in 93, 94, like right before they broke up and right when the Spaghetti Incident was coming out, right after the Illusion albums were released in 91, 92. But they were still kind of like on that arena tour with Metallica, and they were doing the big show still. So I always tell people like that's really like my mainstay of 80s rock music was the GNR album going into the early 90s in my high school and early college years. And then people ask me, well, why do you think they're such a good band? And I go, I don't know. I just respect their songwriting. I think their musicianship is great. I think that they were electrifying on stage. Their presence was awesome, right? And I wanted to ask you that because you're a critic of fine music. You write with so many different people. You understand the Jamie Johnsons. You're wearing a Whiskey Myers hat. Those guys are awesome, right? You understand good music. I just wanted to ask you, is GNR, even though they were short-lived, they had Lies, Appetite, Use Your Illusion 1 and 2, the Spaghetti Incident, and then Axl kept the name and did Chinese Democracy. But now here they are back this many years later, and they're doing what they're doing on this Not in This Lifetime tour and all over the world. In your opinion, were they as special as I think they were, or am I blowing it up, or are they a badass band in Jeremy Popoff's opinion?
Well, I think, yeah, they're 100% a badass band. And I don't think people just associate them with being Sunset Strip and Hollywood and, partying and reckless and crazy. People forget, and I remember clearly because I was there when it was happening, they changed the Hollywood music scene. Everybody likes to think that Nirvana and Pearl Jam and, the whole Seattle scene kind of, which they eventually did, that definitely kind of swept away the Sunset Strip like a tidal wave when that all came out. But for a few years there, GNR were the ones that brought danger and a fresh, raw, disregard for what was happening before and kind of broke all the rules. And they really changed that scene before it got changed forever by the whole grunge thing. So, people that were dressing up like Poison and ratting their hair out and, and putting on lipstick and shit, all of a sudden were like, oh, fuck, I'm going to wear cowboy boots and bandanas and let my hair go stringy and I'm going to get fucked up and get in a fight. But, 3 years before that wasn't cool because the guys were like dressing up like girls and, dancing around all silly. And then these guys came out like, it was like, oh shit, kind of brought a little bit more punk rock to rock, So
am I right or wrong in your opinion when I say this? And I'm going somewhere with this time in the period because this is what's influencing you and AJ to get where you were going to get in 98, 99, which is that thing right over your right shoulder if you're looking at you, or your left shoulder if you turn around, right there. Everybody's like, hair band of the 90s, the hair bands. It was the Poisons and the Warrants and the Nelson brothers and all this stuff that was going on. And then they throw GNR in there and I go, wait a minute, back up. GNR is not a hair band. And I truly mean this. I truly feel this in my heart. They are nowhere near a hair band. And the way that you just explained it, they weren't a hair band. They weren't doing the things that people like I think I respect all of them. I think they're all great. But Poison was doing something that was totally different. Motley Crue was doing something totally different than what GNR came out and did in 86, 87, 88. Is that fair to say? That 100%. They're not a hair band?
Right. Well, and here's the thing too. I mean, in the 80s, like the first job that I ever got, I was flipping pizzas at a drive-in movie theater. I doctored my driver's permit to say I was 16. I was only 15. And in order for me to work there, I had to tuck my hair up in my hat because your hair couldn't be past your collar, in the 80s, a lot of jobs. You couldn't have tattoos that, if your tattoos showed below your sleeve, you couldn't work at a lot of places. So, we all kind of grew our hair out in the 80s as almost like as a rebellious thing, just like kids are getting their face tattooed today. Cause it's like, you're not going to, if I walk in, I could walk into a board meeting with a suit on with this, with my tattoos on my hands and no one's going to think twice about it. But, if I put a teardrop right here, people are going to be like, well, what the fuck's this guy all about? That was what long hair was back in those days. I'm sure in the 70s, it was just a rebellious thing. So I don't think there's anything wrong with, but I wouldn't say they were a hair band in the sense that, I don't know, man, they had more of that gutter, sleazier. Well, they were more Hanoi Rocks and more like that danger thing. There wasn't a lot of danger. I mean, and don't get me wrong, like the Poison guys I love those guys and they're great dudes. And I think they're underrated songwriters and everything else. But there wasn't really anything dangerous about that, And when GNR came out, when you saw them live, you were like, holy shit, like someone's going to get hurt. Someone's going to get pregnant and, someone may not make it through tonight. And it was just that feeling of like, what the fuck is going to happen tonight? And that was what I think made them as huge as they were. It was just that kind of just reckless abandon. And that to me is what rock and roll should be like. In country music should be like that. And I think there needs to be something that makes you feel a little bit, I don't want to say uncomfortable, but you need to kind of be like, whoa, I mean,
yeah. So when you mentioned that just now about underrated songwriters, and this is the last thing that we're going to end on GNR is when I hear a lyric like strapped in the chair of the city gas chamber, why I'm here, I can't quite remember. The Surgeon General says it's hazardous to breathe. I'd have another cigarette, but I can't see. And when you hear that, and that was a radio hit song, that became an anthem in Paradise City and The Jungle and The Sweet Child of Mine. But if you go on there and you listen to Out to Get Me and My Michelle, your daddy works in Barno now that mommy's not around. Used to love her heroin, but now she's underground. If you hear all that, I just thought always, Jeremy Popoff, that was a different level of songwriting of what you're saying is that brought danger of like, man, they're actually talking about Surgeon General and how hard it is for these guys to see through the smoke and where they move from little rural country Indiana and now they're in the jungle. They're like on Sunset and their life is just a whirlwind and you're witnessing it firsthand. So I just always had a different feel for that music, and I guess everybody picks their favorite bands. I just always had a different feel at that time in my childhood of growing up in the 80s that GNR was just different when I heard Appetite. And then even when they did that acoustical stuff with You're Crazy and I Used to Love Her and Patience, it was just on a different level of marksmanship or musicianship. I just always felt that, and I just wanted to get your opinion if you felt it, being around the Sunset Strip.
Yeah, no, 100%. I'm just thankful too that we were as young as we were when we were around all that, because we still had obvious limitations. There were still bars and clubs we couldn't get into. We still, even though we were kind of able to do whatever we wanted, we still had parents that, would wonder where the hell we were at. So we couldn't just go completely insane when, in those days we were 16, 17, years old. But but it was neat to be there and to witness some of that. And I saw GNR in Anaheim at the Celebrity Theater. It used to be this little venue that held 3,000 people in the round.
Oh, man.
And then they would curtain it off halfway through, and they would just do half arena, and it was like basically 1,500 people. And I saw GNR in a half round, and it was mind blowing, and my ears were ringing for days. It was just like,
was that it? Was that late 80s?
Yeah.
Oh,
I think that was 87.
Wow, that's right when Appetite was out. Then it was probably the Appetite tour. Oh man, that's killer. So you're learning how to play this shitty electric guitar that your buddy had. You're roaming Sunset on the weekends as a high schooler. AJ's doing the same thing with you, and you guys are starting to hand out these flyers. And your band is called what at this time?
Razzle.
Razzle is the first band that the Popoff brothers started. Did that transition into kind of like the LA Gun story and transitioning like we talked about GNR? Did it start to slowly morph into what would become Lit in the later 80s? I mean, excuse me, in the later 90s?
Same guys. Kevin, our bass player, we've known since junior high. We were friends because of music in the first place, and then we learned how to play music together. And after, early 90s, we got really popular as Razzle. We were selling out the Whiskey. We were selling out the Troubadour. We were selling out the Roxy. Record companies were looking at us and stuff. But we were getting older in our we were getting better at our instruments. We were getting better at writing songs. And we were getting a little older, and we started to go like, I don't know that this is the direction that we want to go. And I don't know that we want to be a Hollywood band. So we started to kind of experiment and just, grow as a band. And we rented this warehouse in Anaheim, and we decided, it was kind of crazy, but we decided to scrap everything that we had at the time. We scrapped our mailing list. We scrapped our phone call list. We scrapped our name, and we took like 6 months off, and we just completely rewrote our life. And we just started from scratch, really. And then I picked up the phone and started cold calling little shitty clubs, not in Hollywood, but just wherever. And we would be the first band on a Tuesday night, at some shithole. But I didn't want anybody to, our friends knew, but I didn't want to use the popularity of our first band to get any sort of favors for this band. I wanted it to sort of speak for itself. And so that's kind of really how it started. And it was that, using the education that we got from the Sunset Strip, taking that into the 90s, being influenced by all this new great music. We were huge fans of, Alice in Chains and Stone Temple Pilots. And then we also started getting really into the older stuff, and we started getting really into Elvis Costello and more of the songwriting aspect of it. And, cut off all our hair, and it was just a time where we were exploring who we wanted to be. And I think that's what, we grew a ton between, 94 and 99. We were just on this fast moving train of just let's try that. Well, what about that chord? What about that note? I don't know if that works. Why the fuck not? Let's try it. And we just kind of did it all. And then we honed it back in. And I think the record that blew us up was a much more fine-tuned and focused record, because that was after 10 years of honing our craft, I guess.
Before you get to that point of releasing what would become your staple, what would be regarded as for a lot of years, what did somebody like Lane Staley or Scott Weiland have that the Popoff brothers, Jeremy and AJ, are looking at as influence? What would a band like Alice in Chains do with that kind of rock grunge? And then you mentioned STP, which was Scott Weiland, which was, I don't even know how to describe that guy except just insanely talented, but I don't know if he even knew how to. I don't know anything about Scott Weiland is what I'm trying to say. I just know that he was captivating to watch and listen to. Is that what got you? Because now if you're talking to me and you're saying, well, Chad, tell me who you would listen to. You just named the two other bands that, when Velvet Revolver formed after GNR broke up and Scott was there, I was like, that dude is on a different level. And so was Lane Staley before that tragedy happened. why did they catch your attention? What is it like a band like that was forming what Lit was becoming?
I mean, you know, guitar tone wise, it was still kind of in that metal hard rock vein, which I could relate to, and that was what my guitar kind of sounded like. That was what I was aiming for. But their voices, the songwriting, the melodies, the weird chord changes, and just the things that were like kind of a little bit left to center, you know, grabbed our ears, grabbed our attention. And seeing just sort of a new school. Some of it we weren't all that into. I was never really a big Pearl Jam fan. You know, I wasn't, you know, it was a little bit too kind of hippie-ish for me. I was way more into, again, the danger, you know, STP, there was a danger. And
why, it's like you read a book that was written about me and I'm a nobody, but like you just said the words that I would literally say to somebody 2 days ago that goes, Eddie Vedder and Pearl Jam were this. And I go, well, if you listen to the Temple of the Dog album with Chris, I could take Cornell over Pearl Jam any day off of that album, you know, and what they were doing with Temple of the Dog. And you just took the words out of my mouth. Like, why is it though? Why is it just the danger deal? Or why did some guys like you and I, and you're obviously way more into music than I ever was or ever will be, but why would you ever say something like that? And why would I feel like that about saying like, I just wasn't into Pearl Jam when a lot of people were?
There was with some of those bands that I think the ones that we were just talking about, there was a raw vulnerability, I guess. And it was kind of fresh at the time. It was very fresh for somebody to be so talented, somebody that could have been in an 80s hair band or whatever, but you never heard of them until now. And they're just pouring their fucking guts out on the table. And it's, you know, and I say danger, I think there was definitely danger involved. I mean, shit, the first time I went to the very first Lollapalooza and Soundgarden played, and Cornell was climbing up in the rafters and shit. And just like, you're like, oh shit, if he falls, he's dead. That's it. There's no, you don't get up from that one. And he's just hanging from, you know, and so, but musically they just were, you know, you got goosebumps. I mean, when you heard that shit.
Dude, I'm
know?
sorry. I just cannot believe how like congruent, like how consistent it is with my mindset of music. And I'm not just saying this, Jeremy, like I'm really mean, like that's how I feel. If you go into my studio, you will see exactly what you're saying. You'll see that deal there, and you'll see the Jar of Flies album, and you'll see STP, and you'll see Velvet. And there was just a different feel. And it's so cool because when you listen to the early stages of that album or what was going to become after what you're saying, I think it's so honorable that you could have very easily catapulted yourself with Lit, you know, after your success of Razzle, but you decided to go freaking totally organic, man. You went total guerrilla warfare again after you already spent all that time doing it to start one band that made it. Really, you were making it and you were selling out, and you had the record guys, and you're right you're right there at Capitol Records and all of those areas down there that they're onto you. And you said, nope, scrap it. This isn't what I want. My roots are here. And now my next question is, at this time of your influences in what we've already talked about with STP and Alice, you have a country influence too. Is it starting to form already? Because you mentioned the top 40 and your dad and radio and the Kenny Rogers. If anybody ever really dissects Kenny Rogers, he wasn't coming up as a country star when he got discovered. You know, he kind of transitioned into that Dolly Parton Islands in the Stream down the road, but he was more of a pop star that got found. And his story's really cool.
Right.
But are you starting to get influenced by country at this time as well?
Well, when I was a kid, so my dad's first radio job he ever had was at a country station. And my brother wasn't born yet. I was not even a year old. He packed my mom and I up, and we went to Hobbs, New Mexico. And he got a radio job at, you know, the radio station was in a trailer, and it had like one tower in the field, you know, but it was a country station. And then he got a job in, you know, San Bernardino, California at another country station. So I was little. My first exposure to music was whatever my dad was playing on the radio. So, you know, Charlie Rich and, you know, and Waylon Jennings. I mean, when I remember, you know, I specifically remember sitting in my room at like 5 years old, 6 years old, and listening to Waylon Jennings and just thinking how cool it sounded. I didn't know anything about country music. No one was telling me, oh, that's country, or that's this or that's that. I just thought like, wow, the stories and just the vibe and his voice and everything. And I was captivated as a little kid. I loved Kenny Rogers. I had long hair and I had the 45 of Lady, and I used to wear it out. I just thought it's a fucking great song.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
a perfectly written song. To this day, when that bridge comes in, I get goosebumps.
Dude, you're giving them to me right now, just hearing you talk about Lady. I love that song.
Yeah. So, but when I really started getting into country, it was really more the late 90s. Like I remember being on a plane, and this is going to sound kind of cheesy, but it had been I had been so immersed in the rock business, in the rock world for so long. And I remember getting on a plane and sitting there and hearing Faith Hill coming through the speakers. I was like, oh, who is that? She sounds hot. That's a good song, And then I saw the video of like Breathe. And the whole time I was watching it going,
ding, 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 ding. Yeah. You got the answer right.
And then, when we started getting some success and started doing a lot of, we did Top of the Pops in England, and it was Lit, Red Hot Chili Peppers, and Dixie Chicks. And that TV show was set up where the three bands were playing, and it was live, and it was 3 different stages. So, we were hanging out all day with the Dixie Chicks. I was like trying to flirt with the violin player. She wouldn't give me the damn time of day. But
I think she went on to marry Charlie Robinson, didn't she?
Yeah. But
I think she did, maybe.
Somebody, yeah. But anyways, it was a few years later when I almost got a little bit, I don't want to say burned out on rock, but I started to get a little bit disenchanted with the music business and with just a lot of the new rock that was coming out. I felt like that's when emo got real big, and it was getting to be a little cheesy again. And it was missing something for me. And I started to get a little bit frazzled, like, fuck, I don't really want to do that. And so I started just kind of, our manager had moved to Nashville, and then my brother and I's parents got in a motorcycle accident and hit by a drunk driver. And it was kind of a dark period. It was around 2005. And my manager just said, hey, you need to come out to Nashville and you need to write some songs and just get out of your head and get out of California and just see what happens. And so I came out on a whim, and first guy I ever wrote with was Jeffrey Steele, who I still write with him all the time. He's one of my dear friends and one of my favorite people on the planet. One of the best songwriters I think ever.
Give us some examples, please.
Oh God. I mean, What Hurts the Most, My Wish. God, man, I can't, now you put me on the spot.
He's awesome.
I mean, put it this way. When you go into his office, he's got plaques, like my little plaque here. He's got those on the ground, like at the bottom of the wall. Like,
he's written so many hits.
Take one if you're not careful, but he's just a great, talented dude. But that first trip, I met some great people. And on the way to the airport, when I was leaving, I was on my phone, probably my BlackBerry at the time, and I was booking my next trip out. And so I came back out a month later, and that was the trip I met Jamie Johnson. And which was funny because we were both signed to EMI, and we were both going through a divorce, and we were both kind of in a weird little transitional period in our life. We both had little kids, and we were both, and so this guy Tom Luderin at EMI thought, well, let's put Popoff with Jamie and see what happens, because we've got this just redneck as fuck guy from Alabama, and we got this rock guy with tattoos, a long goatee from California. This is either going to be awesome or it's going to be a total train wreck, but it'll be a great story either way. And Jamie wasn't drinking at the time, and we met for coffee first, and we just hung out. And within a couple hours, we were just like long lost pals, and we've been like, tight brothers ever since then, and gone through a lot together. He actually married me and my wife today, my current wife. He was there the night we met, and then he got ordained and married us, which was cool. But
I can't imagine the voice, dude. I just want to hear his voice as an ordained minister. Like, I'm very opinionated about that man too. I want to get back right after this, I want to get back to how that influence is taking place. But the success of that thing over your left shoulder, I want to get to, but I'm really opinionated. Like I tell everybody, I think I'm a really opinionated person, but I'm not ignorant, Jeremy, to where I'm not going to sit here and go, you better vote for Trump and get out of my house if you don't like this. I'm not that guy, but I just have really staunch opinions. Like I think the Lonesome Song is the best country album of all time. And I know that Waylon Jennings and Merle and Jerry Reed, and there's so many unbelievable albums, song for song. Guy Clark, I just got turned on to him. He's amazing. But I just take that Lonesome Song track to track, and I think it's the best country album that's ever been done. And I think that the one he did right after that is close to the best country album. I'm just really opinionated about Jamie Johnson because I really think that if he wanted to, he would have been selling out arenas like Stapleton's doing. I think that he would have been the biggest thing, that if he didn't, do what he did as far as the way he wanted to do it. And now he's that Willie Nelson cult following. He is invited onto every tribute show, every Charlie Daniels volunteer jam, every Merle Haggard birthday, the Willie Nelson outlaw tribute, the Kenny Rogers tribute just now. He gets invited, and George Strait, he writes with the King and does duets with him or duos with him, because he's so respected by guys like you and in the industry because of who he is. And I just always have had this really strong fascination with Jamie Johnson ever since I heard The Dollar, but then that turned in to That Morning Sun and all that. And just, it's amazing how you transcended into his life. And I think it has a lot to do with your upbringing and how open-minded you were with your music and your influences. You meet this guy, and that's why it happened, because you guys had so much in common with your influences, I bet, because Jamie's not just 100% country. He knows a lot about old traditional country, but he also understands Southern rock and ZZ Top in Texas and Guns N' Roses and Lit and all that.
Jamie could sit there and if you see him in concert enough times, you'll eventually hear him play a Metallica song, and you'll hear, he knows, that guy's a damn musical encyclopedia. And he grew up, like we all did. All our buddies, Randy Houser played My Understanding in a cover band, when he was coming up. All these country guys that are around today definitely went through a rock phase, and now even all the rock guys go through their country phase. But yeah, Jamie and I hit it off more because we were living parallel lives. It almost had much less to do with music and much more like we were just like long lost brothers. And we were completely different from our backgrounds are, but what we were living was very similar. And during that time with that Lonesome Song, and even because a lot of the stuff from the guitar song was, a lot of that stuff was written and recorded around the same time. It just came out later, but during that time, he had a room at my house in California. I had a room at his house in Nashville, and we were always going back and forth. And it was just, it was, he made that record with his own money. He didn't have a record deal. That record was made out of a lot of the songs on that record were demos that,
isn't that amazing?
So that was just awesome to.
Didn't he took it to the labels after, right? Or somebody, him and his manager took it to the labels after.
He'd already recouped and made his money back, and people in the record companies were listening to it because it was so great. And then record companies, but A&R guy would walk by and go, "What the fuck is that?" And then somebody would be like, "Oh, that's Jamie Johnson." They're like, "What?" And
so you feel the same, like that album is as strong as a country album can get, and you have a personal touch on it, which we'll get to, but that album is amazing. Is that fair to say?
Oh fuck. I've got one of those for that album. It's usually, I just moved here full time. I've had this house for 3 years. I haven't figured out where I'm going to hang all my shit yet, but
I see a deer head or something over there. I don't know if it's an African game. I see the base of a taxidermy mount. Is that a whitetail?
Yeah.
Oh, look at that.
I'm still setting it up here, but
so
I'm proud as fuck of that record.
Oh man,
proud to have been there during it.
Was it recorded in LA, Jeremy? Sorry to interrupt you. Was it recorded in LA with Shooter? With Shooter?
Dave Cobb was there, and Shooter was there, and he was.
What a story!
He was staying at my house in Fullerton,
God dang it,
It was
dude.
a fun time, man. It was crazy.
Man, I wish I could have been there for just one night of it, man, just to see it go down. God, what a cool story. But so you're going into the late 90s now with this new band, and these influences are there. And that album Over Your Left Shoulder, my looking at you right here on TV, comes out. And the cover art is it kind of a pin-up-ish kind of a deal off of a tattoo studio vibe? Is that fair to say? Or where is the influence for the album cover art come from?
There was a lot of in that album packaging. There was a lot of tattoo related sort of icons. We were very into. We all had vintage Cadillacs. Vegas was our second home. We loved the Rat Pack and show business and the movie Swingers. And that was kind of like our whole life around that time. And the cover art, there was this old picture of a scene from a pool in Vegas. I don't know if it was a postcard or an ad or something from the Sands Hotel. And there was a girl at a craps table that was floating in the pool. And to me at the time, I was like, that is just so fucking crazy. And that's so Vegas. And I love it. So I brought that picture into the label when all the guys were all sitting around talking about ideas. And I was just like, man, I love the pool. I love this vibe of this, as crazy as Vegas was, there's this innocence about what's happening here. And we wanted something that was iconic, where when you saw the girl on the raft, you knew it was us. But it's crazy because that album, dude, our picture's not on it. Like, people saw that for the first time. They're like, what the fuck is lit? Who's that girl?
That's, and I'm telling you, like, if you do some digging on it, how iconic it is, it's like, it is lit, right? That's how a lot of people like establish their first meeting of lit and their introduction to it, and then it sticks with them. And then you mentioned the Rat Pack. Now you're telling me you're influenced by the Deans and the Franks and the Joeys and the Sammys. And a quick story for you, just to get it out there, so more common ground for you and I, is my grandpa Carmen Philippone was first generation American. He grew up in a town called Steubenville, Ohio, and that's where my mom, Faith Philippone, was born. And she was born in the 50s in Steubenville, Ohio, which was Little Italy. And my grandpa's best friend in Steubenville, who he moved to Nevada with, where I got my roots in Nevada. I'm in Reno, Tahoe. They started in Vegas. He moved out here with his best friend, whose name was Dino Cricchesi, who later became Dino Martino. And I have pictures in the studio of my grandpa walking down the streets in black and white in Steubenville, Ohio, which would become Dean Martin. And that was my grandpa Carmen Philippone's best friend. And that's how I got my roots in Nevada. Was my grandpa moved to Vegas with Dean, and kind of in my grandpa got into, he died a pit boss in the casino industry, but his roots were with the Rat Pack. How cool is that?
That's amazing. Yeah, as soon as you said Steubenville, I was like, oh, I've read this book. Yeah.
So my mom was born in Steubenville, Ohio in 1954, and that's how my grandpa Carmen Philippone got out here. So now then you threw in right after that, you said you loved the movie Swingers, which, and I'm just going on a whim here, I'm just guessing, but and you might just say let's move on, but I am infatuated with this show on Netflix called The Chef Show, after John's movie The Chef, and now he's with Chef Choi, and he's cooking on all of these episodes with all these influences that are on there. You need to get on there, because the roots of LA, and you have a passion for culinary art or food and the bar life too, in the restaurant business, right?
Yeah, I own one. It's in Orange County, California, called the Slide Bar, and of course right now it's not open, but it's a rock and roll bar, restaurant, music venue. Yeah, so I love that stuff.
That's just it's really cool that Jon Favreau has this passion of music and cooking, and he lets it be known through the show and his guests and music and movies and comedy and everybody. Bill Burr's on there, and a few other people have been on there cooking with him. But I just thought that it was cool that movie Swingers and him and Vince and what that movie did. I was the same way with that, and then Maid came out, and then I just love that was like the Pulp Fiction of comedy, and it was like, and then Quentin Tarantino in 95, 96 Netflix was doing the Pulp Fictions and the Reservoir Dogs, and I just got infatuated with that. And right before that, during that time, he wrote that movie True Romance with Christian Slater and Roseanne Arquette, and I could watch that movie once a week to this day. It's just a cool vibe, and the chemistry that your influences are being done by the same thing that I'm being totally transparent. These are, if you go into this part of the studio, you'll see every Quentin Tarantino movie poster, and you'll see the Sopranos posters because of that vibe of that time in my life. It was Sopranos Sundays, man. We met to cook and watch Sopranos every freaking Sunday, man, for all 6 seasons, and it just influenced my life big time.
We reenacted the walking scene from Reservoir Dogs in one of our videos, and it's funny. After A Place in the Sun, we were recording the Atomic record, and we rented this mansion up in Hollywood Hills, and just so we could all stay there. And at that point, we all had some success, and we had cars and dogs and girls and whatever. So we needed a place where we could all, stay. And it was right across the street from Tarantino's house. And so we rang that dude's doorbell every fucking day. He never answered it. We're like, hey man, we're neighbors. We live there. Can you come outside? Can we talk to you?
So you love Tarantino too?
Oh fuck,
dude! Yeah, is he not awesome?
Yeah.
What did you?
A funny story about Made. So because we were very, to me, what we were.
Hey, real quick, Jeremy. I want this to be. I just want to say this, and I love this. I want this story, but I want people to understand that I did not read any of this part of your life. I had no idea about your influences or Tarantino or this story about Made. I just think it's amazing that we're going back and forth with so much. I just think that's the cool part about conversation and podcasting. Is my point. All right, so go ahead with the Made story.
Well, we were, we had said in multiple interviews that we were, people would say, like, how would you describe your band to somebody that hasn't heard you yet? And I would say we're a cross between Swingers and Spinal Tap. And it became very known that we were big fans of that movie and movies in general. Quentin Tarantino movies probably influenced us as much as music did, in those times. I mean, but so we get a call from their camp, and they want us to come to a private screening of the new Vince Vaughn, Jon Favreau movie. It's their follow-up to Swingers. And now at this point, they've both gone on to have a bunch of success in different movies, but this Made was their movie of them two coming back together and kind of following up on that. And we were like, are you fucking serious? Like, are they going to be there? Oh shit. And so we go in this tiny, tiny theater, maybe held 40 people. It was on a studio lot. And so it was Made. And at the beginning, before the movie starts, Favreau gets up and he's like, okay, guys, everybody, thanks for coming. There's like 30 people in there. Just want to thank you guys for coming, and just want you to know that, it's not quite done yet. So forgive me for the, he's like making excuses for it, like we do with demos. We're like, no, this, the guitar is going to sound different. The vocals are going to be a little, but just, and so we were just sitting there watching in awe, like, wow, he's insecure about this movie. Okay, well, let's see it. So we watched the movie, and we're dying laughing, and it's fucking brilliant. And we're so excited. And I didn't realize at the time, the guy sitting right in front of me is Vince Vaughn. And
no way.
He fucking cracks me up. Like, and so I'm laughing out loud hysterically at like 99% of the shit he says. And, people are looking at me like nudging me, like, dude, he's going to think you're fucking with him. I'm like, what? And they're like, oh, that's him right there. Shit. And, but they wanted us to write a song for the scene at the bachelor party when the stripper and Tom Morello's in there, and but it was perfect. Like, the music in the movie was perfect. And so afterwards, I told those guys, I got to meet them. They signed our Swingers posters, and Dwight Yoakam was there.
Oh,
and,
God.
It was this crazy moment of like Vince Vaughn, Jon Favreau, Dwight Yoakam, and then our asses.
Was Dwight in one of those first in Made? Or I know he came on and he was in like a bunch of movies with Vince Vaughn, Wedding Crashers, and
they were just pals. Yeah, he wasn't in the movie.
You talk about a badass musician. That's one of my favorites right there, man. You feel the same about
that night. He walked away. We all got to meet him. He walked away. He was wearing like these fucking tightest jeans. Like, you could count the change in his back pocket as he's walking away. And then he got into an old 70s El Camino and just drove away. And we were just like,
The
well,
man, huh? The man.
There you go. There's fucking Dwight. But anyways, I told those guys, I was like, dude, that's a fucking great movie, and there's nothing that I can offer you that's going to make it any better. As much as I would love to have a song in your movie, it's done, man. You're good. They were like, really? You think so? So that was like moments like that where like we got an opportunity to just be kind of, just for me, just to even see that movie like 6 months before it came out was fucking huge.
That's this life, dude. That's why I always say #this life. I mean, like that right there makes me go, I can picture you and I can picture Vince on there with the tip scene when he's tipping the doorman and the bellman at the hotel. And he's like, how about the 20 and give it back and all that. I literally will fall down to this day. I'll just fall out laughing. Like I tell people that Wedding Crashers is the funniest movie. Again, opinionated. It's funnier than Chevy Chase's. And I love Chevy and all of them, but the Caddyshacks and the Fletches and the Vacations, if you take Wedding Crashers from beginning to end, it just I'd never laughed that hard in my life consistently. I'll watch it once a month still and just laugh. He's just got it, man. So that's really cool. That influence is coming from movies, Tarantino, the Jon Favreau's, the Vince Vaughns, and now the album comes out. And were you ready for it? Were you ready for it had the biggest single of your career is on this album? Is that fair to say?
100%. Yeah.
My Own Worst Enemy goes to radio. And what happens? What whirlwind goes down? How long did it chart? I heard numbers of like 13, 14, 15 weeks at the top of the music charts on Billboard. Tell me what it did. And if I'm wrong on that, correct me, but were you ready for what was getting ready to happen?
I mean, I think we were definitely ready. We were chomping at the bit to be on the road and to have an album out and to just get out and do what we had been working our asses off for so many years trying to get to. So we were way ready for that. We had no idea what we were, about to experience. I mean, it was dream stuff. I mean, we left in a motorhome in a Winnebago from Orange County. Everything got moved up because the song kind of got leaked to radio and it started getting played on all these big stations. The record company was like, we're moving it up. And so we just finished the record the week between Christmas and New Year's. We mastered the record in New York. We flew back home to spend New Year's with our friends. And on January 3rd, K-Rock started playing it. And we're like, holy shit, they weren't supposed to start playing that till, like the beginning of March. And so we rented a motorhome and left Orange County in January, and it didn't come back until September of the following year. So we were gone for 18 months, completely nonstop. We were home maybe a collective total of 14 days in a year and a half. And we just kept going and kept going and kept going. Tours got bigger, shows got bigger, went to different countries, and just, it was doing, we have next Thursday off and we're in Syracuse. Okay, cool. We're going to fly to LA and you're going to be on the Tonight Show. Oh, okay. So I guess we don't have any days off. And so we just, all that crazy shit was going on. And then meanwhile, the song was just on fire and it wasn't slowing down. And it just got to this ridiculous point of, then it was like, we get a call, like, oh, it's top 10. And then the next week it's top 5. And then the next week it's number 1. And we're like, but we're still driving around in a motorhome, like taking turns driving, with 2 crew guys. And we're pulling up to these festivals and there's, 15, 16 Prevos. And then we pull up like, bam, 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 we're just pulling up in our, with our microwave bean and cheese burritos and our natural light cans. And
George Jefferson starting to sing the Jefferson song.
Yeah. But it was awesome. It was, it was number 1 for 11 weeks. And then,
wow.
But it was top 5, it was top 3 for just like the whole half of the year. It was, and it's not something that you can't anticipate that. You can't plan for that. A record company can't tell you that that's likely. I mean, that's 99% luck and, being in the right place at the right time. And just, it's the epitome of lightning in a bottle, I guess. It's just,
and a lot of bands don't get to experience that. There's a lot of bands that don't have a single that charts like that. And does it mess with your psyche going into the next stages of the Popoff brothers careers of chasing that again? Does that mess with a person's mind of like, we got to get that again? And does that inhibit you, or does it start to cause anything like any kind of lows that when something doesn't get to that level?
Well, the song that we released after My Worst Enemy was sort of the sacrificial lamb. Like, we knew it wasn't going to get the attention that it was just going to be the redhead stepchild of Lit, and we would have to wait till the third single for it maybe got some attention. But even then, like, I mean, even to this day, 21 years later, My Worst Enemy still gets played on the radio as many times a week as it was being played in 1999.
Wow.
It's fucking bizarre, because now it's on classic rock radio stations and adult contemporary radio stations and pop stations and, you know, Jack FM. It's like crossed over all these different genres now. So, you know, you add it all up, it's still a couple thousand times a week that's song. But now, then the streaming and the YouTubes and all the different shit. So it's crazy. You know, it could definitely fuck with our heads if we let it. I think we've gotten, it maybe did back then, but now we've just kind of gotten to the place where we're just happy to have been there and then had the opportunity to be in the room when that song fell out of the sky, and we just got to ride the wave. And actually, still to this day, it's just fucking mind blowing. You know,
you're like, wait, that's it. It's got to be like, I mean, I don't know if there was a bigger song that charted that long, and then I don't know for sure, but like, it had to be right there setting records in the 90s, right? To be on the chart, to be number one for 12 or 13 weeks, and to stay in the top 5 or 3 for 6 months. And then the 21 year, like, was it one of the biggest songs of the decade?
Yeah. Yeah.
Crazy.
Fucking crazy.
So what does Ziploc do? Or was Ziploc the one that was the sacrificial lamb?
Yeah. So Ziploc, I think, got to like number 10. It you know, went like this and then went like this. And then Enemy was still sitting up there, you know. Then Miserable came out, and that was the one with Pamela Anderson in the video. And that exposed us to a bigger, more worldwide mainstream audience, because we were, all of a sudden, our video was getting played on Entertainment Tonight and Access Hollywood, and, you know, because she was such a big star. So people discovered us because she was in our video. And then Miserable was the number 3 rock song, I think, of that year. It went all the way up to number 3, hung in there for a long time. But that was because of the video and just the crazy exposure it got us. And it was funny because that basically, when that song when Miserable took off, it basically meant we were going to be on the road for another year. And so, and we were just like, okay, let's go, you know? And, I mean, it was awesome. And again, talk about like how cool it was to be the shit we got to see in the 80s, you know. Fast forward, now it's 99, 2000, 2001. We're doing festivals with, like, you know, we did a festival at Angel Stadium with Black Sabbath and Ozzy, you know, and the Foo Fighters. And, you know, we did festivals with Velvet Revolver. We did festivals with Hole and with the Chili Peppers and with STP. And, you know, those were the days where we would like play and the crowd go crazy and we were sweaty or whatever, and we'd run backstage and we'd take showers, put our, you know, dry clothes back on, make a cocktail, and run back out to the amphitheater to watch our fucking heroes play. And it was just like, you know, looking at each other going, fuck, can you believe this? Like, we just played this. And now we're here watching Stone Temple Pilots. Like, this is insane.
God, so, dude, how cool.
Was, you know, that was awesome. And I think, honestly, that period of time, like, I see posters, you know, when we were moving and stuff, you know, pulling stuff out of the rafters and just seeing posters of the bands that we were sharing bills with and just going like, this might have been the best time for rock and roll in my life. You know, I mean, I could argue different eras of rock and roll that maybe were cooler, but that late 90s, early 2000s, some of the bands that we got to share stages with, you know, we got to open up for Kiss. I mean,
oh, man,
there were some fucking pinch me, holy shit moments where, you know, and pretty awesome too. When you get like, when Steven Tyler shakes your hand and tells you he's a big fan, and sings a backup vocal on one of your songs, because he happens to be there in the studio, and you're just like, what the fuck happened? What is that? Like, you know, yeah. And the funny thing is too, every record company in LA and New York passed on My Worst Enemy. Everyone said no. My Worst Enemy, Miserable, and there were 2 other songs on our demo. And every label, including RCA, who eventually signed us, they passed the first 2 times as well. So the crazy thing, and I always tell that to people, especially musicians, it's like, you can't, and I feel the same way today about politicians. They fucking tell you, we don't hear a single. Nah, you got to do this. You got to do that. You got to, they don't know shit. It's the biggest rock song of the last fucking 2 decades. And every one of them passed on it and said they didn't hear a single. It's like, and they're the ones that are deciding what singles you hear. That's what's fucked. They're the
That's
ones.
That's what I said it yesterday on a podcast about if somebody would just come to one of my backyard get-togethers and they just take the consensus of those 80 people when a song plays by a Whiskey Myers or something that's not considered radio country, right? And I'm not saying that Whiskey's even chasing that or your bands are even chasing that anymore. But if they heard what you're doing right now and what we're listening to on our speakers at our pool parties and barbecues, and if they heard a Brent Cobb song that was produced by Dave Cobb, that was written by Brent and whoever you want to name. I don't know if you saw the new news that him and Luke Combs wrote a song the other day, and it's going to be on the Opry app in the deal that Opry's going to put out this Saturday night. Luke's going to sing it, or maybe it's a week from Saturday. But it's amazing. So I'm sitting there going, if you came back here and took the consensus of this, how can you not tell me that all 80 people saying don't turn that shit off isn't going to be the consensus of what people want to hear in their cars? Why is it so decided by the way that this country radio has gone and rock radio has gone? I don't know if Jamie Johnson would ever be played on today's traditional country music radio, which I know that Jamie probably doesn't give a shit, but it's amazing that like Stapleton's even on there with the way Stapleton does. But I just think that what you say hits home with me, because who is making the decisions on what is considered country music? And I have my thoughts on it, and we don't need to get into that. It has a lot to do with the city you live in. I know that there's a lot of politics that go into that. There has to be, but it just blows my mind that some...
And I think that social media and streaming are as much as they are kind of bad for us, they're also taking some of the power away. There's a lot of the old guard still, there's a lot of people still holding the keys to the gate, and in country, probably mostly country, but in rock too. And so, but they're slowly getting replaced by guys like you and me and our friends and the 80 people in your backyard. The 80 people in your backyard at a party are the new A&R guy to a lot of, to a large degree, because, when y'all add it to your playlist and y'all start following those people on social media, and more importantly, start showing up to the gigs, that's the new A&R guy, really, No,
I think it's true. And the guys that I've been talking with in the music part of my life is they say the same thing. And I just knew there was a connection between you and I that was different. Jamie be like, oh, y'all will love each other. And I think that's why I'm so into the songs that you guys are still putting out, is because it's what we just talked about for the last 80 minutes is I just see that and I sense it and I feel it and it's real to me. And I don't look at it as, I call it cubicle country or cubicle songwriting. I look at it as real time shit, man. Like, this dude gets it. He understands what I was feeling when I was watching Pulp Fiction, and I was what I was feeling when I heard that song for the first time, and when my dad would put on a Kenny Rogers album or a Don Williams album when I was growing up. That scene of Don Williams laying in his bed listening to that little transistor radio and going to bed with Wolfman Jack. That was me, man. I had on K-Winds, and you mentioned K-Rock. I had that on the syndication, going like, what's coming on next, man? Or it was Friday Night Videos, and Dee Snider was singing We're Not Gonna Take It, and then ripping down the wall, and then Beasties came on with You Gotta Fight, and then all of a sudden Kevin DeBrow was singing Come On Feel the Noise with Quiet Riot, and I was just like, dude, this has got me, man. And when I talked to you, I sensed that you were probably listening to them same 3 songs I just named, feeling the same. I was in sixth grade. Dude. I was in 6th grade going, dude, what is this?
Our Ziploc video, I wrote the treatment to that video, and I wrote in the treatment, I was like, and we reenact the Twisted Sister I Want to Rock video, and Dee Snider's going to play the role of the father. I didn't know Dee at the time, and the record company was just like, oh, cool, dig it. And they got a hold of Dee, and Dee said, yeah, I'd love to do it. And we've been friends with Dee ever since.
Oh, dude, I didn't even know that. I had no idea that you were friends with Dee Snider. He was just, I got the Stay Hungry album in my studio, the album vinyl. Freaking dude, it's unreal. It's unbelievable.
I brought my Stay Hungry vinyl he came and had brunch with all of us at my restaurant. Brought his whole family, and my whole family was there. We all sat around, and then he signed some stuff. But he used to, whenever we were on tour, we would roll through Connecticut. He was living there. He had a morning radio show, and he could never come to our gig because he had to be up at 3 o'clock in the morning to get ready to do the radio show. But he would always come and pick us up after sound check and take us out to dinner. And we would just sit around, and he would tell us stories and give us advice, and just one of the nicest dudes in the business. But yeah, I mean, I remember the nights of, putting tape on the VCR, the hole in the tape, and crossing out the label and sticking it in and recording.
God, dude. Was it Ricky Rackman? Was it Ricky Rackman?
It was. I think it was Ricky.
Headbangers Ball was Ricky. Yeah, that was me. I was doing the same thing.
And then later, 10 years later, it was 120 Minutes with Matt Pinfield.
Yeah.
And the first time we went to New York, right after Enemy came out, right after the video was done, they were like, you're doing 120 minutes. We were like, whoa, man. And we got to sit there, and Matt Pinfield, and he knew everything about us. And we were just sitting there going like, are you shitting me? Like, we're sitting here, like, it was funny. But
I have to ask you this, and then I want to end our conversation with the country fling of what the romance, not fling, but the romance you have with country music. Honest opinion, transparency. I just want to know Jeremy Popoff's opinion of the band Metallica.
I discovered Metallica. I had the first EP, Kill 'Em All, when that was the only thing out. And then when Ride the Lightning came out, it fucking blew my mind. And we had an older stepbrother when we were kids, and he was in the Marine Corps, and he was out in Japan. And back in those days, you used to be able to get like super badass stereo equipment for like nothing, super cheap. And he was shipping home what was becoming like the most monstrous stereo system on the planet. And he was shipping them back, and I was getting them and, taking them out of the box and setting them up in my room. And I had this crazy, you could hear it from, 3 blocks away. And I would, every morning when I was getting ready for school, I would just crank Ride the Lightning as loud as this fucking thing would go. I know people 3 streets over were hearing Ride the Lightning. And then, I got to see the Master of Puppets tour when they opened for Ozzy. I got to see Cliff, on bass. And I fucking love, the old, not as huge of a fan.
This is where it's going.
I kind of started tuning out a little bit, in the last few records, but
I would answer the question in the same way, and I would say that when Sandman came out, the Black Album, whatever that was called, I think it was just called Metallica. When that came out, I often think of John Hine, the guy on the wrap-up show for Howard Stern, and he was hired through Howard Stern through his original website called Jump the Shark, and he specialized in when TV shows or whatever, Jump the Shark and whatever. And that album was when they lost me. I would have answered the same way, because when I would listen to Injustice for All or Battery and on Master of Puppets or One or the Ride the Lightning album, dude, it just did something to me. And then I kind of lost it to where it didn't have that gravitational pull on me as much as those early days of Metallica did. But I love James, and he's a conservationist, and he's a hunting fool, and he's duck hunts right here in the Bay Area, and they're from Oakland, I believe, but he's always right here in the Butte Sink. And I just love that. I thought that they were very, that they were strong in my upbringing as far as rock music went. But I felt the same way, that once that album came out in the Black and Enter Sandman, The Unforgiven, great written songs, and they were great. It just didn't do the same thing to me that early phase of Metallica did. or the original
They were great
phase.
too. Every time I saw them live, they were
Ripped it.
killer. Just
They
awesome.
rock it. They rock it. So the Nashville, you live in Nashville now. Is it full time, or do you still go back? So you're not, your roots are, you have a restaurant there. When you go back to mess with the restaurant, do you still have a place in SoCal in Orange County?
I am officially homeless in California.
Officially homeless. So
I'll fit right in when I go back. You know?
yeah. Well, or San Francisco, you can go there and just. So you have the album that I claim is my favorite country album of all time. You have a track on there that you have the same kind of frame deal in your house that you're going to put up someday. But you write with Jamie Johnson, you get a cut on the album. And at the same time, are you kind of doing maybe like what Aaron Lewis is doing, that went from iconic rock stardom, with Lit, and you were selling out these, sellouts and albums and number ones and festivals and all of this shit going on. And now all of a sudden you see Aaron with George Jones on a duet. Are you currently in that with the new music that's got more of the country vibe in it, Jeremy? And is that where you see it going for the next few years in your career?
Well, I definitely, have been coming to Nashville for 15 years now plus. And I would say the majority of the stuff that I write out here is country. But we decided, so a couple years ago, Lit put out a record called These Are the Days. And it's very much a country leaning record. I mean, it's still my brother singing and me on guitar, and it still sounds like Lit, but it's very, we had been writing all these songs out here, and we just decided, hey, we love these songs. We wrote them with guys like John Singleton, who signed Luke Combs and wrote a bunch of those. And Corey Crowder produced it, and, he's producing the new FGL, and, Jeffrey Steele. And I mean, just, it was written and recorded here in Nashville the way a lot of the songs, that you hear on country radio were. The problem is that I don't think the country world necessarily is all that interested in hearing a country Lit album. And I don't know that a lot of the Lit fans really loved it. And I think it's one of our best records, but I think that the core Lit audience that's sort of grown up with us wants to hear more of the old school sounding Lit stuff. So we made a decision a few months ago that Lit is going to make new Lit music, but we're going to focus it more. We're going to try and keep that brand a little more specific to what we were doing, and keep it more rock. And then my brother and I are about to drop our first song as Popoff Brothers. And it's a song called Sons and Daughters of Summer. And I think we're dropping it next week. And that's going to be our outlet. Popoff Brothers is going to be our outlet for more of the country stuff. And that way, if you're a Lit fan and you go, oh, Popoff Brothers, that's Jeremy AJ, I'm going to check it out. But there's not like, hey, what the fuck? That's country. Like, where's my understand me? Where's my miserable? So I'm excited about that, because I think it's going to give us just multiple outlets to just be creative and do what we want to do. And so, yeah, that's the game plan. And then right now we just RCA just re-released that album on white vinyl to celebrate the 21st anniversary. We were supposed to be on tour right now, and we were supposed to be doing The Place in the Sun Turns 21. And the whole reason we did that instead of the 20 was 21. Now you can gamble and drink and Vegas and all that stuff. So, but in retrospect, we maybe should have done that run on the 20th. But yeah, that's what
Popoff Brothers. And I just want people to understand of where I go. I don't want to keep it a secret all the time, but I was introduced to you through Jamie Johnson because you are a songwriter of, I don't even know how to say it, but like one of it's so clever. The song that you wrote with Jamie that made that album is Mowing Down the Roses. And you've already explained the place in your life was the divorce, the young kid, where you're at with, your professional life, and Jamie's kind of in that same deal. So I can picture you guys maybe sitting down, and the John Deere and the roses is like, those aren't even staying kind of attitude, kind of like Jamie's just got that different approach of like, there's Living Color, Grandpa, and then the next single is smoking weed in a Baptist parking lot and living the high cost of living, right? Like, that's crazy to me to even do that. And Brent Cobb brought that to my attention on a podcast of like, who does that? Who goes from living to in color to putting out, talking about Jesus and smoking weed in a Baptist park? That's Jamie, right? And now here you are, a couple tracks later, this song comes on and I picture this guy in Alabama and now this guy in LA or Orange County. They're just mowing down the roses. It was the theme of it, like, even that's got to go.
The funny thing is, and I forget, we were both dating these girls. I won't mention any names, but they were friends at the time too, and they were out doing their thing. And Jamie and I I had another house in Nashville back in those days, and it was right around the corner from his house. He was at my house, and I had these two couches in the living room, and he was on one, I was on the other one. We're kind of just like laying around watching movies or flipping through, and we were watching Black Snake Moan. Remember that movie with Samuel L. Jackson? So we were watching that movie, and there was that scene where Samuel L. Jackson is literally just mowing the garden down that his wife had planted, you know? And we laughed so hard. We thought that was so fucking hilarious. And we just grabbed guitars and started writing, and we wrote that song.
Wow,
that was what triggered that whole thing. And we laughed a lot while we were writing that song. It's a pretty funny song, you know? And, smoking potpourri, and smoking her potpourri and shit. I mean, we were laughing and, I didn't know, when we finished the song, he didn't say like, I'm cutting that on my record, cause like I said before, that record was recorded in kind of in stages, and it was recorded in Nashville and in LA. And it wasn't, I don't know that at the time, even Jamie knew he was making that Lonesome song. It just, that album kind of
morphed.
Made itself after, a few months or a couple years or whatever.
But what an accomplishment, man, to go from, your story is just awesome, dude. Congratulations on it. I want to do this again. I want to get more into, the inspiration part of it and your talents, because you and your brother are seriously like talented as shit when it comes to singing and composing and songwriting and stage presence and crowd participation. And just that whole vibe is just badass. And then to hear your influences in the movies and the common bonds that I have, I just kind of had a feeling, and you're humble as shit, dude. And I think that the story is awesome. And I'm so glad that our audience and our, we're hunters, but we're people, man. We love to live off the land, but we also we get our influence from guys like you, Jeremy, and listening to that's what got us through college and high school and first dates and first breakups. And then you can transition that into Mowing Down the Roses and a Popoff Brothers album coming, and the first single dropping the next week in April of 2020. That's just cool, man. It's what a legacy or something to hang your hat on. And obviously, I'd love to have a conversation of, maybe there are some things that it's not all roses. It's this whole life and the nice place you live in and your beautiful wife and your family. It wasn't easy. Like, this is hard to get to this point, and you battled and you grinded. And I want to get into that next time. I'd love to do this again. I think it's incredible what you've built, bro. And I truly appreciate you coming on. You got any closing words?
Appreciate you, brother. Yeah, shit. I maybe the next time you could take me out on my first duck hunt.
No, consider it done, dude. I'd love to have you.
We'll get it on film, and you can laugh at me and make fun of me.
Yeah, Jamie wants to bring his dad, and Wally wants to bring his dad, and we're going to put that together and have everybody get together and just have a big time at camp and get some guitars out and maybe pick a couple around the fire.
That'd be badass, man.
That's Jeremy Popoff, the band Lit. I am going to ask you a favor, and you can tell me no. I'll ask it here. I was going to personally text you, but I would like to get a signed vinyl. Can you make that happen for my studio?
I can make that happen.
Oh, dude, I can't wait. Thank you, Jeremy.
I could even get you one of these.
Can you really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Dude, I'll take it in a heartbeat. I'm going to give you my address, and then we'll do a little bartering. We'll do a little of what Burning Man up here. I'm only 100 miles from where the big Burning Man festival is every year, and that's a bartering system. I had a portable toilet company. That was my first business, and that was my association with the Burning Man festival and how they barter out there. But that's a crazy time if you've never done it. I don't know if you've ever done it, but that's Jeremy. Awesome. That's Jeremy Popoff, the band Lit. Check them out. They are bad to the bone. Popoff Brothers coming up. Thank you, man. You guys are awesome. You guys are a true American icon, and the way you've built it is so freaking inspirational. Check out his story. Listen to their music. This has been another episode brought to you by our friends at Jack Daniel's Pure America. Enjoy it responsibly. This life ain't for everybody. And because I do have permission to use this song through Jamie Johnson and Lit, instead of our common song you hear on here, What You Gonna Do When the Money's All Gone, with Leith Lofton and Drake White, we're going out with Mowing Down the Roses, written by Jamie Johnson and Jeremy Popoff. Check it out. Thank you all so much.